Alright, so number 5, we are going to start out with Arcs, and specifically the Blighted Reach expansion. So Arcs itself is not over 04. The expansion here, though, which adds a campaign to it, does bring it over 04. Essentially what it does is it takes the Arcs base game and adds a 3-game campaign to it, where you're starting out as a player. That player makes decisions, and it kind of affects the game as it keeps going on. Arcs is trick-taking type of game, so it's not really a true trick-taker, but they use that type of mechanic to move cards around, and they describe it as a space opera. So you're moving your ships around, building up, destroying other ships, things like that. Great game. Alright, next up, and I have to hold this box closed because it wants to open being on its side, is Anachrony. At least that's how I think it's pronounced. Anachrony is a game that's about time travel, which is kind of cool. So essentially, as the turns go on, you can borrow resources from the future to bring back to the current turn, but you also need to, in the future, return those objects back so that you don't end up making time rifts. Time rifts make you lose points. So as that keeps going on, you eventually hit a point that the world kind of gets destroyed, and then after that's all done, most points wins. It's actually a very fun game. It's a very cool thing, like how they took the time travel and put it in there, going back and forth in time. Pretty fun. Alright, so next up we have Nucleum. So if you've ever played Brass Birmingham, this is kind of a love letter to that game, but they made it even more complex. So essentially you're kind of doing the same thing where you're building up buildings, you're trying to get to a point that you're mining the nuclear power, building nuclear power plants. You can gain new technologies. Your pieces that you play each turn, you can either use them as the turns that are on there, or you can turn them over and like build out the roadways on it. So kind of like Brass, more complicated. I would say this game is the one that makes my head hurt more than any other game by the end of it, which is why I love it. Number 2 on my list is Barrage. So Barrage gets lumped in with Nucleum and Brass a lot. Its gameplay to me is quite a bit different than them, but the idea of building up power is kind of the same on that. In Nucleum, you are building up dams so that when the water goes through your dam and it goes to a power plant, you build power, gain points by making more power each turn. This one's got a little bit more get that than the other two have, where you can build your dams to catch the water that the other players were trying to get to, which is why I do enjoy this one a little bit more than Nucleum. And my number 1 heavy game, drumroll, Age of Innovation. So I played Age of Innovation probably a good 10-11 times last year. Never get sick of it. It's part of the Terra Mystica series. A lot of people's favorite game in that is the Gaia Project. Gaia Project I've never played. I never played Terra Mystica, so Age of Innovation is my favorite of that series. You're essentially just terraforming this planet to whatever color that you have, and you're building your buildings up essentially across the map. There's a little bit of a get that component to it where you can block people from building, which is one of the reasons I like it, and it's a very, very variable game. So depending on like the character you start with, what type of resource you are, things like that, the game plays different every time you play it. Wonderful game. Takes a very long time to play, but very fun. And that's it. That's my top 5 games that have a weight of 4 or higher on Board Game Geek. Don't take anything that's on Board Game Geek as gospel. Some of those games are rated over a 4. I don't personally feel that they're over a 4. Some games where the rules are pretty easy, but the strategy's heavy, I probably wouldn't put there. Barrage I don't think is that heavy, but Nucleum I do. But it's a great starting point to look at it. So let me know, do you have any games that are like heavy games that you like that's not on my list?